I'm currently 21 years old, and at the age of 13, my mom passed away. Today, I'm going to talk through that story. Now, I don't know where you are watching this video. I don't know if you've lost somebody in your life or if you haven't, and so whether you've gone through it and this is going to be relatable for you, whether you're going through it right now and you need to hear somebody tell you that it's going to be okay and that you'll get out of it alive, or you haven't experienced any of that yet and you're preparing for the future, then wherever you're at, I hope you can find this helpful or relatable. And then at the end, we're going to talk through some of the life lessons I've learned, how I got through it, and how I can advise you to get through it yourself. I usually script most of my videos, or at least a little bit, right? I've done zero preparation beforehand, so if I yap a lot, I'm sorry, but I want to keep this authentic. Let's just get into it. So, starting at the very beginning, growing up and my family was great. I was blessed to have a great family. I was annoyed by my sister growing up, but I think that's pretty normal for any sibling. As we've grown older, we've become much closer. And so, growing up with two parents was absolutely amazing. They loved each other completely. My mom always had some sort of health issues that I could identify, of course, being younger. It's kind of hard to know the intricacies of that and deeply understand the causes and what's causing it. But from a very young age, I was well aware that she had a brain tumor. I didn't really know what a brain tumor meant, but that's what my parents told me she had, and I lived life, and that was great. She would have occasional to frequent seizures. Some weeks it was worse than others, but for the most part, we would watch her. It was mainly I think it was her right side of her body would give out and her leg would shake and she wouldn't be able to stand, and sometimes would have to drop to the floor, and everybody around us would look at us and be like, whoa, what's going on? And I'd just be like, yo, this is another day in the office, dog. This isn't anything abnormal. I never understood why people freaked out over that, but I think nowadays I kind of do a little bit. But yeah, moving forward, life was great. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 even, that was just normal life, right? She still had her health issues, but they were never prevalent to my eyes. I never saw it until I got around the age of 12, obviously, and this is where things kind of started going downhill. I honestly don't remember much. I don't know if it's my brain blocking out the past at all, but I just remember her health getting significantly worse. Her losing the ability to think well was the first thing that started to go, and that was really weird because she was still communicating well. She was still helping out, still around me and my sister. It was great, right? But she was just taking a while to hear things, and I was super confused on why. And I think at that point in time, she didn't even know what it fully was, and so we didn't really know. But moving forward, of course, it was just this slow process of her losing her humanity almost, which sounds dark, but it's really what it was. She lost the ability to talk. She lost the ability to process. I think in her last maybe 3 to 6 months of life, she didn't say many sentences, which was really weird and hard. But even at the same time, then she lost the ability to eat. She couldn't go to the bathroom on her own. She couldn't move around at all, which is just really weird to see, especially when she was probably only, I think, in her late 40s at the time. So just seeing that, it's just weird, just weird. And so I had a feeling deep down, even when things just started to get bad, that she was going to die, to put it simply. And so I almost started grieving before my parents even sat me down to have a chat, which they ended up doing, and that's the most wild conversation I think I've ever had, because I think they kind of knew things were going to continue to get worse, and this was back when she could talk, so she didn't pass for another even 6 to 9 months at that point. And so just going through the process of her dying for a year was crazy. And looking back on it now, I'm grateful that it wasn't unexpected. I'm grateful that we had that time because we could cherish the last memories we had, but we were also preparing our brains and preparing our lives that she wasn't going to be around forever. And that had some blessings in it that, it was still hard, but it was still all right. And so, in her last week of life or whatever, I couldn't even be around her. I couldn't face it. I don't really regret that much because what was I supposed to do? I was 13. I don't give my 13-year-old self crap. I was 13. And so, one day I vividly remember my dad waking me up in my bed, and I immediately knew what was going on. I remember just saying, oh no. And he told me my mom had passed away earlier that night. So it was while we were all sleeping. Yeah, it really is crazy. But I walked downstairs, we had some extended family with us around that time because they were helping take care of me and my sister, but they're also just, there for my family and my dad and my mom, of course, obviously. And so, just crazy. But I remember not being able to face grief in the face. I don't think many people can, let alone a 13-year-old, right? I just remember like going and playing Fortnite like immediately after, because like that's what I did. I was a big gamer growing up, obviously, and Fortnite was huge at the time. I was just like, I just went and played Fortnite. And my dad came down, he was like this probably just isn't the best thing for you to be doing right now. I was like, okay. But it was like, I didn't know what else to do, right? Like, do I just sit around and sit in it? Because that sucks. Do I block it out and not soak in it? Like, I don't want to soak in this. This is not fun. And so I don't really remember anything else from that day. Genuinely, I don't remember anything else. I don't think I really want to remember anything else. I mean, I remember going in and seeing her one more time before they took her away. I mean, that was about it. I mean, shortly after we went, obviously we had a funeral. We called it a celebration of life. I still don't understand that to this day. I can't describe it. I didn't feel it yet. You know, I was processing the grief all the way up until her actual death point. Man, I was just joking around, having fun at her little thing, because like, what else was I supposed to do? I don't know. Like, did it hit me like a rock at points? Of course it did, but for most of it, it didn't even feel real. It just was what it was, because like, it is what it was. Yeah, I just couldn't even feel it because it felt so unreal, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Because the good thing in the moment, like, it probably braced me a little bit so I didn't fall straight into it. But I mean, over the next couple months, I remember just feeling terrible. I mean, to be fair, that's how you should feel. I remember one morning asking my dad, like, what's the point of living, or what's the point of life? Which is crazy to be saying at 18, I meant 8th grade. 13 years old. I mean, it's just sad to think about. I know other people have struggled with suicide even younger than me, but yeah, I can't even imagine like my kid coming up and telling me that at that young of an age. But it's just what I was going through, and it hurt, and it was terrible. But yeah, immediately after, nothing really changed too much. I didn't grieve it right away. But then, yeah, moving, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later down the line, like, that's when I started to feel it. I always had, like, anxiety growing up. I think my dad used to call me Next Up when I was a kid, because I was always asking Next Up, like, what do we do next? What do we do next? Like, I was just always an anxious kid for some reason. That really picked up in my later teens. And, like, not only was I going through that, but there was a level of, like, I was hitting puberty, I guess, to put it lightly. And so, like, my brain was probably changing in ways like crazy. I still didn't really go through the grief or, like, fight it well. And so, like, I mean, it just stuck with me for probably 3 to 4 years. And, I mean, even after I probably grieved, which was around 16 to 17, I didn't grieve in a healthy way. I grieved in a way of, like, this is terrible. I don't really know how else to describe it. By my late high school years, I remember being extremely, extremely suicidal, extremely depressed. I can't even describe depression. I can't even put myself into what it was like back then. I just remember waking up every single day with this, like, light physical sickness. And I could tell it was in my mind. Like, I could tell it was a mental sickness, but, like, my body was just slightly physically sick every single day for, like, 6 months. It was the most surreal thing ever. I was just mad. I was upset. I don't know. That's about all I could put to it. Going through that was terrible. But it put me in a place to where I'm at today. And so, yeah, going through that grief was not fun. Watching it affect my family and friends wasn't fun, but taking a toll on me was terrible too. Even now today, it's like what I look at, like, my mom's not going to be at my wedding when I get married. My mom's not going to get to see me have kids. That's hard. But there was one last beast I had to slay, and that was this depression that I was left from out of losing my mom. And so I got to be honest, I couldn't beat it on my own. I knew for a fact I couldn't beat it on my own. I knew I wasn't going to win. And that sounds terrible to say, but what I found is something that was able to help me. And so I'm just sharing my experience. You can take this for however you want. I was getting to a point where it's like I knew nothing in this world would satisfy me, and so I needed to look for something else. And that's when I think Jesus met me where I was at. I'm a very devoted Christian. I make mistakes. I'm terrible. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by any means. I think people, like, their descriptions or, like, ideas of Christians are these people who think they're better than everybody else and they live by a higher moral standard. And, I try to live a great life, but I make mistakes, don't get me wrong. That's all I'm trying to say. And so I met him. I don't know how else to put it. It wasn't like a physical being, which most people probably think. I got plugged into a great Christian community when I got to college. Made some incredible friends who sat down and listened to the same story that I told you and told me Jesus is going to meet me where I'm at. I just have to give it time. And I'm not going to lie, it took 3 months, 6 months to fully understand who Jesus and his character was and how he could fill a hole in my heart. But eventually I did understand that. And so there's a lot more to that story that I might go into on another day. But for now, that's where I'll leave it because I want to respect other people watching this. I think the best decision you can make in your life is to give your life to Jesus. However, I understand that that's not everybody's path, or maybe it's just not your path right at this moment. But that's what really helped me, and I couldn't go through this video without telling you that because genuinely that is the only thing that pulled me out of it. That's my story. What's the lessons you can take away from this? Grief is going to hit at random points in your life. I hate to tell you this, but grief never goes away. I still deal with grief, right? Like, I don't think I've dealt with grief immensely in about 1.5 years, but I know that it's never going to change. Every Mother's Day, I feel it. Every birthday that hits, I feel it. Every time it gets around late August when she passed, I feel it a little bit, right? I might not break down and cry and scream like I used to, but grief is always there and I'm always going to feel it. And you're probably always going to too. Another thing to learn is things can get okay and will get okay. For me, they did. I went through anxiety, depression, and a lot of other issues because of her loss. But I can tell you now I'm still anxious. I always have been, to be fair, though. I still deal with anxiety, but I haven't felt depression, and I haven't felt a need to take my life in a long time. And so, yeah, another thing is everybody grieves differently. Everybody grieves at different times. I knew a lot of people around me when she passed grieved in the first month, and then they were kind of fine, kind of like I was after 5 years. But for me, it was every 1 to 2 to 3 months I would break down and have an attack of anxiety or panic or whatever it is. I don't really get the definitions, but you know what I mean. I would have those moments and then I'd be good. But every night for 2 to 3 months it would happen. It sucked. I didn't like it, but it just was. I couldn't control it. So yeah, everybody's going to grieve on their own time. But most importantly, like I said, the most important lesson probably from this whole thing and this whole experience, and I get you might not want to hear this because I once was you, but genuinely, I can't attribute how I got out of all of this mess and dealing with this grief and dealing with anxiety and dealing with the depression if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And once again, like I said, I'm not perfect. You watching this aren't perfect either, but I ask you and pray with you, if you open your mind to it and you open your heart to it, I think he'll meet you there. I don't see why he wouldn't. And so, yeah, that's what got me through it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch another video of mine that's a little less sad and it's probably a little more fun, you can check it out here. But otherwise, thank you for just watching in general. See ya.